Welcome to Aspire to Lead, where we empower educators and school leaders to grow, inspire, and thrive. I'm your host, Joshua Stamper, author, speaker, and leadership coach, bringing you conversations that spark transformation, challenge the status quo in education, and equip you to make a lasting impact on your campus or in your district. For more information and resources, visit joshstamper.com as we're looking to ascend to new leadership heights together. All right, welcome back, Aspire leaders. I'm so excited for the new year, but even more excited for the person that's on screen with me because it's been over a month. This was before Thanksgiving that we recorded our last Aspire Mailbag. Jeff Gargas, how you doing, buddy? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Excited to be here. A little disappointed in us. Although I think last time, didn't we figure out that it had been like 4 months? So we're getting better.
We are getting better.
We're doing better. So I don't typically do resolutions, but I'm pretty sure I just came up with one.
I was thinking the same thing. I think we need to construct one here since it's like just a few days from the new year. What are we thinking?
Well, the best part about that is no matter what we decide we're going to do today, then we just won't do it anyway because most resolutions fall apart by like the third week of January anyway. So like it doesn't really matter. We'd be like, yeah, we're going to do one every month, and then we'll do one in July. And it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's right. Kind of went alongside my weight loss, It'll be great.
We're not going to about weight loss, but I'll be very sad.
Yeah, it was 4 months and now it's been a month. So like we're already improving. We didn't wait for New Year's, Josh. We just decided to be better.
Yeah, we're just getting better one day at a time. That's all we can do. Well, it's great to see you and Happy New Year. And I want to tell everyone that, this is the 36th Aspire Mailbag, as Jeff Gargas and I have been doing this literally for years, where we're just taking questions from you from various places, right? I think today actually is all from Voxer, but in the past we've done it from Instagram, Twitter /X. We've taken them from all different places as far as seeing people in person, emails, all that kind of stuff. So if you have questions for us in the future for our Aspire Mailbag, please reach out in any of those various ways because we absolutely love them. And we shoot for anywhere between 2 and 5 questions, depending on how in depth we get. Jeff, you look like you're really thinking hard.
We just entered. We're now entering our 6th year of doing this, right? Wasn't it 20? Was it 2020? Yeah, 2019. Right after the 19 conference, it was 2020 when we started.
Yeah,
probably January, February, March. I think it was probably more like March in 2020. But yeah,
probably a couple months after. Yeah,
we're entering our 6th year of doing this, so we're averaging about 6 a year. Is that the math? Is that correct?
Sounds about right.
Oh, sure.
Especially because there's been a couple hiatus in there where we've been insanely busy and haven't got to record. But yeah, that sounds about a good average.
That's fun. All right. Well, hey, here's the 6 more,
I sure hope so. I really do. I mean, if you think about it, Jeff, like this podcast will be 9 years in May.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
To say that we've been going on for this long is incredible. And that the Teach Creative team has been attached to this podcast for that long too it's pretty fun.
For more than half of like the majority of it. That's crazy. Well, I mean, it's been 6 years. Teach Better is going to hit 11 years this March. So we've been doing this for almost half but the half the life of Teach Better in general too.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. All right. That's awesome. I think that's enough about us. We've wasted like 3.5 minutes of their time so far. So we should get into it. All right.
So I reached out through Voxer, and for those who don't know, I have like an Aspire to Lead group and has been in formation for quite some time. And I always like asking these leaders questions as far as what can Jeff and I answer. And I'm going to make these more anonymous because I feel like Jeff, and tell me if you're with me on this, that it seems to be more campus specific. And I don't want to get anyone in trouble or call someone out on accident. So I think I'm just going to keep this anonymous, especially since in the chat, it seemed like a lot of folks were feeling the same on their own campus. So I'm just kind of compiling the conversation to just make it more of a broad
That makes sense.
question.
Yeah, I was gonna make a joke that I disagree. We should totally call the person out, name the district, give them the office phone number. No,
name the school, name the district, the teacher.
And I think because it wasn't just the initial question, it was a bunch of conversation that just kind of generalized around the same pain points, really. So let's address that.
All right. So the first question is, how can I continue to lead others who are stuck in their ways and not open to making adjustments? I feel like many of my staff members are not welcoming new ideas or even new people into the staff. So what is your first thoughts with this question, Jeff?
Boy, my gut goes to culture, right? So, well, a little bit. The second part, my gut goes to really asking questions. I think is like, so why are these people stuck in their ways? And that may not be something that you can answer. I think that and by question, I mean is to have conversations with why they may be pushing back on it, because it sounds like they're probably pushing back on ideas, maybe not giving actual effort to things. And there are a lot of reasons why that might exist. It could exist because other things that they've been asked to do have not sustained because they haven't, been followed through. They never feel like they have the support. It obviously could, side note, it could just be this person is stubborn. That's definitely a potential reason for it. But I would try to dig into like, what is the reason and behind? Why is this person fighting me so hard on this? Why is it always Josh that pushes back? What is it that he feels? Because I believe he's a good teacher and he cares. And I know this thing or this idea is at the very least worth trying for students. Why is Josh always pushing back? And we've found in our time, a lot of times when teachers push back, specifically on new initiatives, new pedagogical shifts, or new tools and stuff, it's because they look back and they're like, we do this every year. And someone brings something as an idea, we try for 1 year, and then we don't do it again. So why am I going to waste my time? And so sometimes that can be the issue. So I think that is going to take some detective work on your part to kind of ask some questions and stuff. I mean, depending on the relationship you have with that specific person, you could flat out ask them, but most of you might have to do a little bit of like just touching base, building that relationship to kind of figure out what it is, why are they really pushing back. And I will look at the idea of like, and that's for the new ideas, but for not welcoming new people into the staff, that I definitely think probably something to do with culture. And that's not calling out that there's a bad culture, but there's something going on within the culture. Either it's not there strong enough of being open and welcome to new people, or someone or some people within the group are trying to like close that door. I think we like to think as we get older, we grow out of like the cliques and stuff that you see in teenagers, but that's not true. I think we actually might get worse because we tend to, as we get older, want to do fewer and fewer new things. We like to get, stay comfortable. So like, I think really looking into that, like welcoming to people, like that's a big piece. And then, and also maybe the processes and not necessarily the onboarding of the new person, but it could be part of that. But like the process that you take of like bringing people in and making sure that your current staff like understand, why is this change happening? Why is this person being selected? And then what is this supposed to look like? I think there's a lot of pieces that could go into that. So I think all in all, my answers would definitely be like, really trying to dig into what are the root causes for the pushback on both of these. And then also, is there anything within our system and our culture and our approach and that we can shift or adjust to get through this? And I think I say that all with a little bit of an asterisk of like, sometimes it's just the person. I think far too often we go there first where it's like, well, that's just Josh. Josh is like that. I think a lot of the times you could figure out why Josh is like that and help him get past it. But sometimes it's just Josh isn't the right fit for the job and he shouldn't be a part of the team. But like, I think there's a lot more to explore first before you go to that one. So,
man, you hit so many awesome things. I want to expand on what your first point was sitting down with them and asking them. And I think that's something that's uncomfortable. And sometimes as a leader, it's easier just to be like, you know what, that's just who they are, and kind of ignore it or just move on because you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to make it an uncomfortable conversation. I would say though that, and I forgot who the guest was, Jeff, that talked about this, was that they brought their staff in for just like these short little mini meetings of getting to know them as a person, getting to know kind of their passions, their goals, and nothing high stakes by any means. But in that, just kind of uncovering a lot of things that were going on as far as misperceptions, maybe, some hurt feelings from a previous administrator, maybe something where they got burned from another teammate, just some things that they didn't know was festering with each individual. And by just having these like simple check-ins consistently, and I think they were doing it once a month, they were able to kind of work through that. And not to be a therapist by any means, but to have a space for them to be able to communicate what's going on.
Sorry, I was just saying, like you were saying, like not to be a therapist. No, but it's about building that relationship. So now Josh, I might uncover something, but maybe more importantly, and maybe equally important, I'm building a strong relationship with Josh so that he's more willing to say, Jeff, I don't like this idea because.
Sure.
Or, hey, I'm not going to do this because, right? So like sometimes, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought that was a great point.
No, it's very good. I would just say that I think a lot of times we don't have spaces for individuals to be able to share that information. And so, it doesn't have to be a one-on-one situation where you're, carving out a ton of time. Maybe it's something like what you do with your students where it's a form. It could be different groups. I've seen a principal of my own bring in small groups for lunches. It would be 3 to 4 people at a round table and having discussions and trying to get a pulse. And, you're talking about the culture, right? What is seen as the culture from your perspective, and having conversations. What would you like to see in the future? And just kind of picking one topic at a time for each roundtable. And so there's a lot of ways you can do it. The main thing, though, is that I think when people are kind of stuck in their ways, there's always a reason behind it. It's just about us as a leader giving that space, something where they're not feeling attacked. It's a trust component there where they feel like they're open and safe to be able to communicate that. But then also at the other end of it, I think when they feel valued with their ideas, they're valued as far as their opinions of what's going on, and a part of that culture building, then I think all that kind of stuff kind of flattens itself out, where when you are doing a new initiative or you bring in new staff in, they're on board. And I think that takes some time as a leader, but it also, I think the biggest thing is just building that space for them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like we got to a good answer there.
Yeah, I want to add too, when you were talking about like the onboarding process, I would challenge anyone that's listening is, if you're in a leader, really reflect on your onboarding process as far as who's a part of that. Because I think a lot of times it's just the administration, right? Yep. It's the only folks that have their fingers and their pulse on the new people coming in. As far as that interview process alone, it was just admin that selected that teacher. And when you're then providing the PD for them, as far as what's going on, as far as the procedures, both district and campus, all those kinds of things, again, that typically is only the admin team. And so I would say, is there anyone else that you can invite into that process? So it feels like, again, it's not this person is being forced upon me by the admin, that then again, you're getting buy-in from other folks because they're selecting them and also helping with teaching them how to, be productive on that campus.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think potentially if you're thinking of that 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever people that tend to not welcome people in, bringing them into that onboarding team might help for the fact that you said, like, now they're a part of the decision and they understand, they can see a little bit and they have some voice into maybe not, if it's not the right person, but also you kind of put them in a little bit of a hot seat of like, okay, now come be unwelcoming in front of all of us, like in front of the whole admin team, right? And maybe there's some barriers, but I think you're right. I think a lot of times it's probably that. It's like, well, why did, you either got rid of my colleague who I really like, or they left for whatever reason. And now I got this person really, why are you so excited about him? You don't say anything about you know what I mean? So I think there's a potentially big solution right there, bringing them in. Not to mention just in general, that's a great practice, I think, because
my goodness, yes.
Like just in general, even if you're not having these issues, that's a good practice. One, when you're reviewing candidates, having the people that they're going to work with tell you what they saw that you didn't see, that's great. But also just from getting your current people on board to accept this person in, and also from the new person's view, familiar faces right off the bat, right? So, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I could get on a soapbox about the whole hiring process. I won't do that, but I agree with you, and think the more perspectives you can have, especially those who they're going to work with, I think that's just a must. Yeah. I think that's a no-brainer. All right. This one's kind of connected, Jeff, as far as the second question. And folks were also kind of jumping in and saying, I'm seeing this a lot on my campus also. And that's to do with the administrative relationship with a teacher. And so this one is, how can I lead with both empathy and accountability in a relationship that feels strained with a teacher? So they're looking obviously to show like consistency, respect, clarity with that relationship, but they also want to hold firm as far as the expectation and wanting the teacher to have some growth. So what are your thoughts as far as that balance?
Yeah, I think it definitely connects. You were right there, because I think my gut goes to both or culture in general, and also maybe specifically to that person could be also asking questions like, why is this relationship strained? Why does it feel this way? Is it on both sides, or is it just me feeling this way? And if so, like, how do I dig in either way? But I think from a culture standpoint, and I want to note, and I think we said this in other past episodes, but I like to always mention when anytime we talk about culture, I think it's really, really important to note that to change culture, to create a culture, to change a culture, whatever, that takes a lot. It takes a long time. It's not something that happens in a month or two. Like, it just doesn't. And I actually had a coaching call with someone not in education, someone in business who like has a really bad culture in their business. And she's like, well, I think I could fix it. And it was like 3 months. I'm like, you're not going to do this in 3 months. It's going to take you a year. Like, so I think it's important to now hers was really bad. So that's different. But like, it's important to know that. However, with that said, is I go to culture when I'm thinking specifically about the holding firm to expectations and promoting that growth. Those are cultural things that like has to be built in so that it is just known, it is just understood. It is the foundation and the lowest bar that these are our expectations. This is what happens when we do not meet those expectations. And this is and within there, we promote growth. We're always pushing that type of stuff. So like that way, that'll help with some of that. Right. And I honestly think the way that you build that is by showing up consistently with clarity and with respect and communication. Like that's how you build that culture. And so I think that focus on that's like the long-term solution. But if it's a specific person, I think it goes back to similar to what we talked about in the first question is like, why is this, if it's just this one relationship, why is it strained? What's the difference between how Josh and I interact and have interacted over our time together as me being a leader and him being my teacher versus, Kelly over here, who is, there's no reason, like we have a great relationship. Like what's different? And obviously the personalities play a part, but also like what has happened or not happened. And how do I get in there and figure out, well, why are Josh and I button heads? And I think again with Asterisk, it could just be our personalities, and that's a very reasonable reason, but it's a bad excuse if that makes sense. Like it's perfectly acceptable reason for that to happen. It's not an excuse to allow it to continue to happen. Got to figure out, okay, I got to approach Josh differently than I do Kelly. Kelly and I just naturally click and we get along. Josh and I, boy, we just butt heads. Like why is that? What happened? Is it our personalities? Is it that one thing that I didn't know about or that thing that I have a chip on my shoulder about that maybe I'm not thinking about? Like dig in and figure that out to solve that individually and then continuously work on the culture side as a long-term goal, which never ends, by the way.
It doesn't end.
Right. You don't hit that and go, okay, we're done. Like it's good. No. Culture set. No. Yeah, you got to maintain it and feed it all the time. So,
well, in relation to what we were talking about before, as far as that onboarding process, I mean, that happens every single year. People retire, people move on, people get promoted. I mean, there's so many different components of the shift that occurs every year. And I mean, I can think of so many times where I'm like, we're exactly where we want to be culture wise. Oh, I love the staff. I can't wait for next year. And then, July hits and you get all these like different people getting promoted and whatnot or retiring. And then you're scrambling to then hire 10 people or whatever it is, right? Whatever that number is. And then you're feeling like, well, now I'm starting over. Like we had it where we wanted it. And now it's shifted to all these brand new folks or people transferring from the campuses. So I think you're right. And you're saying like a really bad culture and taking a year. I'd say even if you have some tweaks, I've seen it take a year to get to where you want to be culturally.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think you just have to expect that it's a long runway where you're
and never ending. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And of course, the bigger the campus and the bigger the staff, the longer that runway is. So my thought process with this was just I was thinking of a lot of like different scenarios as far as accountability, and a lot of times the accountability and the thing that you were talking about as far as the breakdown was expectations. I think they had something in mind as far as what they expected and fill in the blank as to what that situation was. And then as far as administration, our expectation was different. And so, having to come together, and I think the hardest part is that we're coming together to get on the same page as to we both agree on what that expectation is moving forward. And I think, unfortunately, you were talking about comfort in the last question. And I think what tradition, what they're used to, what their values and belief system is, I think really pushes what that expectation is, whatever it is that you're trying to get them to change their mindset on. And so like, I think that just takes some time as far as the conversations and the molding of what that is. And empathy is a must. You have to have that as a leader, but that shouldn't be an excuse to allow poor behavior. Right. So something may be going on at home.
Trying to understand why the behavior is there. It's not saying that Correct. It's okay. I can empathize with you and understand where you're coming from and still know that what you're doing is not okay.
Yes.
and still know that we have to work on it. But by understanding where you're at and why you're coming out this way, I'm better equipped to now try and get us there. Like, I love that you mentioned like their background, all these different things, and like the expectations being different. I think that's so common, and this goes far beyond education, just in any leadership where we lay out the expectations. We go, well, I told them what I expect or what we expect. Off we go. And it's like, well, wait a minute.
Yep.
Did you check to make sure that they understood and they heard you the same way, right? And so,
and do they agree?
Yeah, and do they agree, right? So I love that you keep going back to the onboarding process. I think that's the long-term fix of like one way to do this and stuff. But it's like, here's what the expectations are. Like, can you tell me what you feel these all mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh tells me what this one meant, and I go, well, so when you said that, actually, how I feel is this. Like, well, and then now we get to your point that I love that you add that they agree to it, right? So like, make sure that we're saying the same thing. Because to your point, if I come from a different district or just a different culture background, and it doesn't even have to be like a vastly different. I mean, people literally from state to state have different words and different cultures and stuff like that. Like, if we come from two different places, when I say these 17 words that make a sentence of a part of my expectation, it doesn't mean that you are going to read those the same way. Your lived experience and your past experience with that, or maybe you're brand new, or the college you went to, the very specific professor you had, like that all can impact that. So getting very clear on communication. I think so much of breakdown in any kind of leadership can almost always be tied back to communication in so many instances when you get into these things, because it's so often I said it, so it's good versus, I'm literally talking about mastery right now. Like mastery learning, right? Just because I covered it doesn't mean the student got it, right? I need them to prove mastery to me. It's the same thing here. Just because I said or I gave you the handbook with expectations didn't mean that you understand what those words mean. And so I think that's a big piece. I love that you keep going back to there. So
I would say too, and I'm going to give you an example of that. And I think the mastery piece, I think that actually works well in this too. I had a teacher that the bell would ring 5 minutes later. She was in her car. She was gone. And teachers were upset about it, came to the front office, told, on the teacher, why do they go so soon? All that kind of stuff. And there was like hostility there. Come to find out, it's a single mom and she needs to go pick up her kids. Well, I can have empathy on that. You need to go do that. I can allow you to do that. But then the accountability is, okay, if you're leaving that early, you still need to make sure that you have everything prepared for the next day, right? And so we can't drop the ball there. So how is that going to look for you? And so sitting down with that teacher and looking at the plans. So I'm still holding them accountable. I'm having a conversation. I'm understanding what's going on. And then the expectation is being set and agreed upon both by administration and teacher. So I will allow you to go early and take care and be a mom like you need to be. But on the other end, what are you doing to make sure that you're doing your job and also communicating to your other teachers, right? Because right now you're breaking down our culture because they are assuming the negative because they're filling in a blank here of why on earth is this teacher, she must not care about her job. She's just leaving early. And so we need to, set that right too. So I think there's a lot of pieces there that, to your point of when there's not communication there, just human nature, we go to the negative, both as a leader and as a, colleague. And so I think it's just one of those things of dig in, like you said, providing that empathy of understanding, but then also holding into the fire of expectations.
Yeah, that's a great example because that's such one that's like could be so easily diffused before it ever happens, where in that instance, and this kind of ties it all together, if the culture's there to where that teacher knows that she can come to you and say, hey, like I have no other choice, like with my childcare, like I have to get back and it takes me exactly this long, like I got to jet out. And then there's empathy employed by you as the administrator say, okay, awesome, totally get it. How do we make sure things aren't going to fall apart by you having to rush out? And also, hey team, just so you know, this happens. How do we all work together to support this? And now those other teachers, hopefully, if they're able to deploy a little empathy, they're able to go, oh, I understand why she has to leave. And I'm going to support her this way. Or at least I understand. So I'm not going to have that negative thing about her leaving and going there. So, and again, asterisk, some people are jerks. It doesn't matter. But like, but that's such a little piece, little piece of communication there and culture and stuff that can really fix that. And I think I hate it because I feel like so often I go to that about communication, but like that's just in our lives in general. So I don't know if this is going to make sense or not. I rewatch shows a lot, like, things like The Big Bang Theory,
How I Met
Friends,
Your
How I
Mother.
Met Your Mother, right? And also you look at a lot of movies, and the reality is 9 out of 10 problems that occur on a TV show or in a romantic comedy, whatever that, are the result of someone just not communicating something that is really stupidly simple to communicate. The reality is that's our life too, literally all the time. Like, how do you communicate something, right? And so, because you think about I can't remember what you were phrasing earlier about, like, it was bottling up, right? It kind of bottles up and they get angry. Like, that doesn't happen if there's communication. I might still get upset. I might still not like that she gets to leave, but at least it's going to be a whole lot less of an issue if I'm able to voice it versus if it bottles up in me and then eventually I can't hold it anymore and it turns into a bad situation. And so, yeah, communication is it's ridiculously important in every piece of our lives everywhere. So especially when you are in a leadership role.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's the number one thing. I would say it's the number one thing that no one talks about, that you don't prepare for. You're in your master's program. They don't talk about it enough. I mean, communication is literally everything as far as the success of not only you in that role, but then also the people that you're leading.
It's awesome. I love that you said that, Josh, because you know what they do talk about all the time? Relationships. You know how you build relationships? Communicate. Often,
effectively,
clearly,
effectively
about everything. Like, that's right. So, like, I love it. That's awesome. It's spot on.
All right, man. You talked about mastery learning. We talk about that, occasionally here on the Aspire Lead Mailbag, because that is something that Teach Better is kind of the staple of your business. And so I want to talk about another staple that has been something for a long time that you've offered to folks, which is the Teach Better Academy. So I know that there's a little change possibly happening, but I'm trying to poke to see if I can get any information from you. That's really what's coming up.
Okay. All right. I know. See, so, you're privy to a lot of information. You've known about some things going on a long time. So this is funny. This isn't even, we haven't even like shared this with our newsletter or audience or anything like that yet, but because it's still somewhat early on, but we are actually secretly working on completely revamping and updating the entire experience with our academy, and making a lot of shifts. That's sort of awesome. Over the next 3 months, the sort of our kind of a soft target. We don't want to rush it. The academy, works as it is, but we're hoping by maybe the end of March we'll be able to flip it completely on. Maybe before that, we'll see. So yeah, definitely excited about that. Teachbetteracademy.com where that is at right now. We have some a few courses being updated, revamped, a few new courses coming out, a whole new platform and experience that we're going to be transitioning into, and some really cool aspects that are going on that. So that's super exciting. So yes, you can poke a little bit at that. You heard it here first. If I can, on that sort of similar note, because this is kind of fun and exciting too. So, and I think your audience might know this if they've listened to some of the mailbag, because we talk about this. But and I think the most recent one we did, we talked about the Edupreneur Launch Summit. So we have this other side of our business that I get to do a lot of leading in, which is the Edupreneur community. In the past it was called the Edu Creator Club. Transition is now called the Edupreneur community. And that's for those educators, those teachers, leaders, anyone that is building anything outside the classroom or district, whether you're starting a podcast, writing a book, or growing a full-on business, whatever. And that is actually in the works right now to completely redesign that entire brand. It's still a Teach Better brand, still housed on there, but we're going to separate the diamond and the green and everything like that. That's going to be separate, and that's going to be its own sort of standalone brand. So that's really exciting. I'm waiting right now, probably next week, hopefully getting the first ideas back from our designer and stuff. And so I'm waiting, and I'm whoa, what? Why isn't he emailing me? I'm oh, because it's freaking January 2nd. Calm down, buddy. So yes, yeah, so some exciting things going on with the team, kind of creating some things in the background that hopefully, if we do an episode every month, next month I'll have some more to share. And then maybe 2 months from now on episode, what would that be, 38 or something? Maybe we'll get to celebrate something. So we'll see if you and I stick to our resolution. That's
the goal. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. But this is all exciting. And, I even have a course on the academies with my book, Aspire to Lead. So if you have the book and you want to dive in deeper for free, I mean, that's something that you can jump into.
That's a good course.
Thank you. And so very excited not only to continue to have that with the Teach Better Academy, but also kind of the revamp that's going on. And super excited for that to launch for folks. So definitely dive into everything that Teach Better has going on. You can head over to teachbetter.com. There are so many different things as far as free resources, services that they provide, videos, podcasts, you name it. They got it all. So awesome. Jeff, any other announcements you want to touch on before we close this down?
No, that is it. I think we are good. I think we can wrap it, brother.
Awesome. All right. I just want to mention real quick before I push the button here, just as far as the Aspire League cohort, if you are interested in joining, we're going to open that up again in February. So if you head over to joshstamper.com, you'll find the cohort button. If you click on that, there's a ton of information. We've got a brilliant community that is so passionate and looking to enhance their leadership journey. And so we've got a couple other folks that are going to be joining us here in February. I'd love for anyone listening, if you're interested, you're an aspiring leader, and you want that support, that community to help you amplify your leadership journey, make sure that you fill out the application, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible to get you in there to help with everything. So look forward to that and the brand new year. Jeff, couldn't think of a better way to start 2026 than to record with you, buddy.
Hey, dude, this is exciting. We're off on the right foot. That's for sure. This is exciting. It's going to be a good year. I actually put out a post where I actually said it was the image was 2026 will be your best year ever. And I crossed out best year ever and put another hard year. And I'm going to say that again here. Like most likely 2026 is going to be another hard year, but that doesn't mean it can't be a great year. It doesn't mean it can't be your best year ever, honestly. But like, I feel like we fluff too much and we forget that, hey, like all that literally happened is a day went by and we changed the end and date. Nothing else really happened. Nothing else really changed yet. So just keep being the awesome leaders that you are, and keep yelling at Josh to bring me back so we do more of these and life will be good, and 2026 will be great.
Just keep yelling at me. That's what I got out of that. Right.
I love you,
best
brother.
year ever. I love you too, man. All right, we'll see you hopefully next month, and if you have any more questions, reach out to us. We'd love to answer them here on the mailbag. For I guess the next one will be mailbag number 37.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. We'll see you on the next episode.